Good afternoon. Thanks for attending this little presentation about Moringa. It's a most interesting plant that we came across in Africa. To be more precise, it was in Tanzania. Maybe something about myself and the company. Our company is AfriCrops, and I'm the co-founder of AfriCrops in New York and AfriCrops in Berlin. I got, in the beginning, when people talked about the miracle plant, I got a bit suspicious because that is a bit miracle and super is rarely based on scientific facts. So I went into the facts, into the actual scientific facts, and since that time, I'm very hooked to Moringa. No? Now it starts. No? Here we go. Here you can see the plant. These plants are about 3 months old, and you can see how quick they are growing. They really grow in tropical countries. They grow like wheat. It's really amazing. And just to give you a little comparison, this is New York grown. So this is 2 weeks old. So I think it's substantial because right now the temperatures are quite well, and you can grow it also on your own. In winter you have to take it into your flat or room. Just to begin with, I want to show you one part of the of Moringa that was the first part of Moringa that got scientific interest, and those are the seeds. I've got some seeds here in the mortar, and I will grind them a little bit. Maybe, Ali, you can help me on that. Just grind them to a powder. And what was found out was that the seed powder had the ability to clean water, and in 2 ways. One way to clean water to remove the dirt particles, the physical particles, and on the other side also to kill germs and bacteria, fungi, and so on. And that became of great interest, especially in the development contracts and development context in African countries. And I want to give you a little example. I don't have dirt water with me now, but something similar. So I've got a tin of Coke. I don't know, I think it also works with Pepsi. So I will put some in the bottle here. And now I will add some ground Moringa seed powder into the Coke. Thanks a lot. So I will shake it a bit. and I will leave it until the end of my presentation. So this is Coke, and I put Moringa seed powder into it. Now, I will leave it now, and will continue with my presentation. If you have a look at this picture, what would you say? Do you like her? What would you think? Do you like this picture? No? I will turn it around. Turn it back. She's beautiful. And in reality, she's not. Why is that so? The human brain has something, information goes into our eye, and then it is computed in the back of our brain, in the visual cortex, and then it is compared what we have stored in our brains during our own life. And if we see a picture like that, it is not stored in our brain to see an ugly face, but it is stored that it must be beautiful. So that means we are talking about perceptions. Perceptions means there's something that has grown in our brains, and we continue thinking about that, and we don't change our minds. The reason that I showed you this, talked about perception, is one of the big perceptions is about Africa. Africa is in need. We have to help. This is in everybody's brain. Africa needs help. We all see the stories that are not so nice that we always combine with pictures from Africa. Another perception is you only can eat healthy if there is a piece of meat on your table. Yeah? Many people think this is how they were grown up. This is what is stored in our brains. And what I want to do in my presentation now is to change that and asking new question. Instead of asking, what does Africa need? We should ask the question, what does Africa have that the world needs? And the second one, what is it exactly what a human body needs? And that is the basis for the work of AfriCrops. We want to show that Africa has something that the world needs. If you look at the plant of Moringa oleifera, it is amazingly full of nutrients. That's the reason that it's called a superfood. The first thing is, it is rich in minerals. If you look at the different minerals, for example, potassium, we consider bananas high in potassium, and in moringa leaves, you would have about 15 times as much potassium as in bananas. And we analyzed that in a laboratory, 15 times. And coming back, some of you have listened to the presentation of Matt Fraser. It is extremely, the high potassium content is extremely important for endurance runners. Also, other minerals like magnesium, extremely high in moringa leaves. Calcium. We consider, or most people consider, milk as the main calcium source for nutrition. If you look at moringa, you would find that in moringa leaf powder, the calcium content is more than tenfold compared to milk. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Iron. Something that I realized when coming back from Africa, I have been living and working in Africa for 15 years, was that people here on the northern hemisphere, and I'm talking now about the US, and I'm also talking about Europe, in particular Germany, that especially women very often suffer on iron deficiency. And if we look at the iron content of Moringa, to give you a number, it is about 28 milligram per 100 gram powder. And if you look at liver, which is considered as an iron source, has just 10. So it's not true. It's not true that it's important to have liver, an animal product, as an iron source. It can, Moringa powder is a very rich iron source, and at the same time, it is known that iron is very well absorbed in the presence of vitamin C. And Moringa leaves are full of vitamin C. Now I come to the next point, the vitamins. There was research done in a German laboratory where 1,000 plants were compared. The leaves of 1,000 plants were compared in terms of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and so on. And Moringa oleifera came out first. First means not that it has been always the highest in every vitamin, but the balance was very favorable to the needs of the human body. There was one vitamin, vitamin A. There indeed the vitamin A content was the highest that has ever been found in plants. And I want to continue. Vitamins we have, there's one misconception. One misconception, sometimes people ask, how about vitamin B12, which is especially an issue for people who are living a vegan or vegetarian lifestyle, especially vegan lifestyle. Plants can't do it. So Moringa doesn't have vitamin B12, but this just has to be added. But otherwise, all other vitamins are there. The B vitamins are in a very high concentration. When I come to the protein, I was asked, how is the protein? Is the protein valuable for people who do endurance sports or do regular exercise anyway? And we looked at the composition of the protein, and we found out that first, all essential amino acids are present. And I compared again with the animal protein, and which was whey protein. That is very often used by people who want to build up muscles. And the protein in Moringa has even a higher biological value to the human body. And that is very unusual. That is very unusual that a plant protein has a higher biological value. Then I looked at the amino acids that are considered to be responsible to build up muscles, which are those amino acids that contain branched chains. Amino acids. And indeed, again, we could see that in the Moringa protein, it compares very nicely with an animal protein. That is very unusual. Something that received amazing attention regarding to superfoods in the recent years, is the issue about antioxidants. I think you are familiar with that, with antioxidants that you would find in many superfoods. And we can see that also in Moringa leaves, the concentration on antioxidants is extremely high. What I find more important is that we find particular antioxidants for which already it has been proven that they have an impact. For example, in green tea leaves, there is an antioxidant, epigallocatechin gallate. That's a scientific name. And this one was shown that it has that this has an impact on a positive impact to prevent certain kinds of cancer. And we find the very same antioxidant also in moringa leaf. There's another antioxidant like camphorol or quercetin, and those are also antioxidants for which there is already scientific evidence that they have an effect on the human health. So quercetin and camphorol, especially related to anti-inflammatory purposes. Did I forget anything? No, I don't think so. Now, after having talked about the advantages of moringa as a rich mixture of nutrients, I would consider moringa powder as a natural, holistic food supplement. I want to look now into the impact that we can see in the collaboration with our African partners. What are the advantages for African countries? Moringa grows very quick. There are many African countries where whole forests were deforested because of firewood. It's a bit similar to Haiti, you might have seen that. And a similar development we can also see in many African countries. Moringa grows very fast, develops strong roots, and it can prevent erosion. One thing I touched upon was the water cleaning. There has been a lot of research been done on how to use moringa seeds to clean water, and it comes into interest again now also on the Northern Hemisphere to use new ways to clean water. About the water cleaning, I will tell more in a minute. Advantage for Africa is also, of course, it is an excellent source of nutrients. The main staple food that we see in African countries, sub-Saharan African countries, is just maize porridge. And that is mainly carbohydrates and a bit of protein. And people, though they have enough to eat, they very often show malnutrition symptoms. Malnutrition symptoms, for example, iron deficiency, and those could be treated very nicely with moringa. Natural medicine. Moringa originally comes from the north of India, and since people know since, I don't know, several thousand years about the benefits of moringa, and it is part of more than 300 Ayurvedic uses. And so moringa is very known, and especially in West Africa, in Ghana, Nigeria, there we see that especially older people have a rich knowledge about how to use moringa for health benefits. And last but not least, through the approach that we are using, what we call fair trade on eye level, we see that the farmers and the farmer associations with whom we work, they prosper. There's a constant and permanent income generation. What we do within AfriCrops is to establish the whole line, starting with the farmer up to the end consumer in the Northern Hemisphere. And that creates a constant a constant cash flow and secures income in Tanzania. That's where we operate, but also now in a growing extent in Malawi, which is one of the poorest countries in the world. But what we want is that all should benefit. So how could we benefit from this? What is the advantage for us to have access to Moringa? As I said already, it's an excellent natural and holistic food supplement. It's purely plant-based, and there are no additives in. It's just the leaves. The leaves dried and ground to a powder. It's just that, no additives. And indeed, it was found out that the leaves have a certain antimicrobial activity, and so no additives are needed, and we also don't want that. It's a pure product. In a growing extent, Moringa products are used in the for cosmetical purposes. One is the leaf powder itself. There are recipes that can be used to create I'm not so familiar with that, a facial mask, yeah, a facial mask, and that regenerates the skin very nicely. From the seeds, one can produce an oil, and the oil is very durable. It penetrates the skin very easily, and so smoothens the skin very nicely. And what we see is that the collaboration with Africa is not a one-way road anymore, but it's a mutual benefit. What I said in the beginning, we always think Africa has to be helped. We have to donate to Africa, but this is a way that we can see that both sides can benefit, and we can create a relationship that is really on eye level. And something, last but not least, Africa becomes more and more prominent. It becomes more and more interest is generated on the northern hemisphere. People get more interested in Africa. China is very interested in Africa, and so we can learn from Africa, and we can create an attitude not only to teach Africa, but also to learn from Africa. Right now, we have different activities. We collaborate with partners in Malawi and Tanzania, and we focus on Moringa products, but we want to extend now also to other plant products because it's really rich and on superfoods and also other very unique plant products. We don't want charity, but fair trade on eye level. We don't want that people buy our products because they want to donate to Africa. We want that people buy our products because it is a premium product of a high quality. And this is also what we communicate with our partners in Africa. Finally, our next step will be organic certification of the Moringa products. It is already organic, grown under organic conditions, but in African countries south of the Sahara, there's only a few places where certified Moringa is offered, and we have now a project together with the German government to increase the production of organic Moringa. That will also increase the output from the countries that produce the Moringa, and more income is generated, And we are very positive that this will really make a big difference. Here I've got one picture of a meeting that we did with representatives of the small-scale farmers. If you look at them, this meeting was done in a school. The schools provide places to meet, and this was done in a school. If you look at them, are they poor? Yes. Do they need help? I believe no. And is it sensible to start more collaboration with African small-scale farmers? Definitely yes. And I think this will be, in the future, there will be it will be a growing way to work with African partners. And with this, I would like to thank you for your attention, and would like to have a look at my little experiment. And as you can see, with a Moringa seed powder, which I put into Coca-Cola, it happens the same as happens with dirt water. The dirty particles, they are bound and they sediment on the bottom. And if I leave it a little bit longer, it will become completely clear. So this is a real powerful plant. And with this, I would like to introduce you to our partner, Ali Shakur, who is a plant-based marketing expert. And we met last year here on the seat. And there was a wonderful, there's a wonderful work relation, but also a friendship relation that grew over this last year. And together with Ali, we went to Tanzania, where he could also make some experience about Afri-crops in Africa. Thank you very much, Ali.
Oh, yeah. One more time for Heinrich, please. Wonderful presentation. Heinrich is a plant physiologist. I mean, he's got so much knowledge about plants in general, especially Moringa. Our booth is over there. Make sure you connect with us. But I have one quick question. Vegans in the room? Anybody here vegan? Probably a lot, right? Okay. What is the source for B12? Spinach? Is that right, guys? Does anybody know? Who? Bacteria, that's one. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys the answer because I was vegan and I was told the same thing that Heinrich brought up. You know, where do you guys get your B12 from? You have to get it from meat. And the fact is that you get it from algae. They call it spirulina and chlorella. I'm sure you guys are familiar with those names. That's your source of B12. I just wanted to get that out there because it was something that I had to research and I had to find. So I just want to just give it to you guys so you guys know. So like he said, I'm a marketer. I like to be in a plant-based business. I will never work for a company like Pepsi or Coca-Cola that will poison people. I like working with people that are going to provide products that are good for the body. Like Heinrich said, we met here at the Seed Experience. I had been a new vegan, and prior to, my favorite food was macaroni and cheese, chicken, cheeseburgers were my favorite, and hot dogs. And I loved smoking cigarettes. That was my thing. And then I was watching this movie. I don't know, some of you may have heard of the hip-hop group TLC. So I creep, yeah. All right, she knows it. She knows it right there. So I'm watching this documentary. It's about Left Eye and how Left Eye went to Honduras to meet somebody by the name of Dr. Sebi. It's S-E-B-I. Write that down. Put that in your notes. Go home. Google that guy. And he started talking about all these interesting things like milk being bad for you and cheese being bad for you. And I'm like, but that's not what they told me in 5th grade. They told me that's part of the 5 food groups. So I started doing this research, and I found out that everything I was doing was destroying my body. So I hit the internet, and I'm on Google looking and like, okay, what's the new superfood? So goji berries, okay, let me get the goji berries. Let me get spirulina, da. And I came across this moringa, and I'm like, okay, moringa, what's this? And I look it up, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. This is like the superfood. Where do I get it? Couldn't find it. So I said, all right, fine, whatever. I'll find it one day. I come to the seed experience. I wasn't even going to come. My friend was like, yo, I'm going to this vegan event. You want to come? I'm like, it's vegan. Yeah, I'm there. So I go, I walk in, and the very first table was Heinrich and Afrocrops there, right here on the corner. And I walk in, and I'm like, oh, moringa. And I just grabbed the bag. I didn't even ask what it was. I just pulled out the money. I gave it to him because I knew what this plant was. This plant is life-changing. So after I bought the plant, the powder, I said, I want to work with you. I'm a marketer. I want to work with you. So we had negotiations. We came to a deal, and now we're partners. So earlier this year, Heinrich and myself, we went to Tanzania, and we saw the moringa plant live. So it's like, I'm at the Afrocrops compound now. We walk in, and the sounds, it's like, I hate to be cliche, but it sounds like the Lion King movie, you know? All these like birds and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, this is it, man. This is beautiful. You know, I'm not hearing like sirens and all that stuff. It's like nature. So you walk down like this little path, real skinny path. There's like bushes on both sides. You know, you've been brainwashed by the media, so you're like terrified of Africa already, you know? So he's like taking me down here, and I'm walking. But I'm pretty brave, you know? I'm like, this is cool. I'm experiencing this. I'm loving it. And then we get down there, like, yeah, here are the trees, and they're I think it's like 3 months old. And these things are taller than me. I'm like, holy cow. So then we drive around Tanzania, and then we find a moringa tree that's just like in somebody's backyard. And the moringa tree is like from here to there. Very beautiful tree. It has flowers, has these long seed pods coming off of it. Very, very beautiful plant. So I had the experience of having the plant, going to Africa, seeing it grow in its natural habitat, seeing it grow wild, meeting with the German embassy down there, meeting with doctors and all these other people. And I'm like, you know what? I'm like all in on this thing here. I'm all in on this thing. So when we come back, we actually released the new packaging, which you guys can see there on the table, the new packaging. So we're going to be working very hard on getting this thing into Whole Foods. If anybody here has a connect to Whole Foods, please let me know, because we'd like to make that happen. I think it's imperative. The Vegan Dread. Clap it up for the Vegan Dread. He is a bodybuilder with just a vegan diet, no meat. Make sure you guys link up with Tori. So while I'm in Tanzania, we met with this lady. Her name is Josefa. The sweetest lady you could ever meet. Her energy was amazing. And she believes in a raw diet. She doesn't cook anything. The main story she told me about moringa, which had me, you know, like really sold, because I was already sold. But she said that her hair was always gray in her elder age. And she said in the back it started turning black. So it started getting color back in her hair. So I was like, wow, this is, you know, stories that I'm not hearing, you know? So you're hearing it from other people. So she comes up with this recipe book. And it's available for sale now. You guys like all my plugs, right? It's available for sale now. We have a package over there that comes with the full recipe book, which is all raw. We don't want to, you know, cook these ingredients to the point where there's no nutrients left. So the book is all about raw moringa recipes. So I suggest that if you do pick up the moringa powder, which is $5 less than it is on our Amazon site, make sure you get the book, the moringa powder book. What's the title of the book, Heinrich? The title of the book?
It's Josefa's vegan moringa raw food book. Recipes.
There you have it. So yeah, we're going to have that there. We're going to have that available on Amazon if you don't get it today, but I suggest getting it today because it's at a discount rate. That's very important. Now, before I wind down, I just want to know, does anybody here have any questions about the presentation about Moringa? Yes, hold on one second, I'm going to come to you. Yes.
Hi there. So can you can you give a few examples of sort of things that you would put moringa in, like if you just...
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what she asked me is basically, what do you put the moringa in to intake it? And really quick, it's just smoothies. You know, I think that's the fastest answer. You know, show of hands, who makes smoothies? Exactly.
Maybe one thing about smoothies, there's a movement actually about the green smoothies, and Moringa becomes very popular about that. Yeah. But you can also use, my favorite is having Moringa with spinach. It will increase, or it will enhance the flavor of spinach. I mean, it's leaf, no? It's leaf.
And another thing I do, which you'll see in the recipe book, I just make a tea. It's really fast. I take a teaspoon of moringa, and I put it into you know, a tea mug, and then I would either, you know, brew my tea or just add hot water and honey, and that's it. Stir it up and drink it. Somebody else had a question over here?
What's the difference between, let's say, using the powder versus just using the tea leaves? Like, I've been drinking moringa for like 8 years, so I just like, with smoothies and with like tea, I just like take the leaves whole, put them in, and like grind them up. Is it just like a better digestive like combination that happens when you use the powder versus the tea?
Okay, that's a very good question.
You understand right, the difference between tea and powder, yeah? The leaves and the powder, it's the same. It's exactly the same. The only thing is that the powder, of course, the particles are much smaller and the surface is bigger, and so you get more out of the leaf. That's the only difference, yeah.
Is there any difference eating it raw versus a tea? Does applying the heat to it do anything to it chemically that would change the benefits of it?
Yes and no. Mainly yes, because if you look, for example, at vitamin C, vitamin C will deteriorate under heat. Proteins will denature under heat. Which can also be good. For example, if you look at the iron, there will be more iron released when you cook it. So for the iron it's good, for the vitamins it's not good. So it depends what you want to achieve. No?
So just to clarify, you do get B12 from this, or you don't? You don't. Okay. It's just from algae, you said?
Plants, green plants, can't make vitamin B12. So possible. I think I saw another hand go up back there. Where?
Yeah, my question was similar. I wanted you to talk more about the nutritional profile of moringa.
All right. I could go back to this one picture that I had. Oh no. Anyway. Doesn't work. So the nutritional value, you would have all nutrients and vitamins and minerals. You would have them in a very well-balanced way, yeah? And because it is in a very well, if I say well-balanced, that means well-balanced according to the human needs. And I have not come across to another plant that has has a similar composition that is that well balanced. Yeah. Does that answer your question? Good, thanks. Good, thanks.
You hear all this in the news about Garcinia now. How is it different than Moringa? Or is it the same when you talk about the superfoods and plant-based stuff? Garcinia cambogia? No? Oh, and Garcinia, it was like on Dr. Oz, that whole big thing. But
Which one?
yeah. No? Okay.
So if anybody wants to make some money, this lady has a plant she just named. You, you can get in touch with her and you can have a booth here selling, was it Garcinia? All right, so write that down in your notes. We're gonna have to look that one up. It may become an Afro crop. It just might. Describe the taste.
The test.
Taste, how does it taste?
How we know that all is in. Yeah, the way is you can only get the results when you ask for them. So that means we will send a sample.
No, taste.
The taste.
Taste, not test, taste.
The taste. If you have the fresh leaves, they taste a little bit like rucola, rocket. Yeah, so they have a bit of a spiciness, a bit of a leech spiciness. The leaf powder has also the spiciness. It is more concentrated, so to speak, because the water is out, and it has also a bit of a bite. It has a bit of a bitterness. Those are compounds that support the digestion. Yeah, and at the same time would also be able to kill bacteria and certain germs. Yeah.
Yeah, the seeds, if you chew the seeds at our booth, go over there and ask to taste the seeds. You'll peel it open. And if you chew on it, inside your mouth, it's going to go from bitter to sweet. It's a very interesting experience. But like he said, it'll kill the bacteria in your mouth, throat, and stomach.
Maybe one experience from my side, when I feel that the flu is coming, then I chew the seeds. And after that, I didn't get a flu anymore. Especially for me, I always had a problem when as I told you, I stayed many years in African countries, and when I came back to the north, I always got a flu, always. And so that helped. I didn't get a flu anymore. So, yeah.
Thank you. In terms of water purity, what impurities are removed from the water other than the color?
Are you asking about the purity when we purify it from the water?
Your experiment, you added the powder.
Okay, so in the experiment, what we added was the moringa seeds, but crushed. And then what we did was we put it into a Coca-Cola, and it separated the bad from the water. Did that answer your question? Okay, I'm sorry.
Of water, can you add it to water to purify water?
Oh, absolutely. That's what it's for, to purify water. Yeah.
What impurities does it take out?
She wants to know what impurities come out of the water if you were to, I guess it would.
That's a very good question. The way as the seeds work is there are certain proteins, small proteins, they have a charge on the surface, a positive charge, and they attract dirt particles. It's a little bit like ionic tensides that you would have in washing powder or so, or dishwashing liquid. And so they would attract the dirt particles, that's one thing. And the other part of the cleaning is that compounds are able to kill germs. Yeah, so it's an antibiotic property.
Did that answer your question, kinda?
Can I drink the water?
I don't know if you want to drink that. I wouldn't do it.
This one I tasted it. It is still sugar water.
Right, right.
But the particles were yeah, just flocculated. If you look at it, they are now on the bottom of the bottle, and they flocculate, and so it's clean.
Absolutely. Anybody else had a question?
From an economic standpoint, which do you recommend someone to purchase, the seed or the powder? Where do we get the best bang for our buck? The powder?
For the blood, you mean? Did I understand that right?
He's just saying which one is probably more beneficial for the body, or nutrient dense.
Yeah, it's the leaf, the leaves. Yes.
Yeah.
And
The powder that we sell, the green leaf powder, is from the leaves.
Yeah, and that is unique because usually you would have those parts of the plant that are rich in protein is of course the seeds. No? That is what the plant would need to grow, and to have such a high protein content in leaves, that is very unusual, indeed. So it's a leaf powder, definitely.
So with the seeds, when we're eating the seeds, what are some of the different benefits we get from the seeds than from the powder?
Yeah, yeah.
That's a question for you, Heinrich.
There are different, yes. Where the seeds are stronger than the powder is the antimicrobial activity. Yeah, that you would find mainly in the seeds. Some experiments have been done already to use the Moringa seed powder to preserve food, and it works quite nicely. So it's a natural way to preserve food. Yeah.
Yeah, we have the seeds available so you can grow your own tree. It doesn't take long at all. No, I'm serious. I'm growing one at home, yeah.
One thing that you might also be interested in is from the seeds you can press oil. And the oil has the property that it doesn't get rancid. It does not get rancid. And I learned that it was used about 200 years ago as oil, as grease for watchmakers, for, the pocket watches, because there were no synthetic oils available, which are available now, and they used Moringa oil. And the reason that it doesn't get rancid are those compounds that I just were talking about, the antimicrobial compounds, and also a lot of vitamin E. It's also in the seeds you would also find a lot of vitamin E.
The Moringa as a crop, you hear a lot about monoculture, production of plants, depleting the soil of its nutrients, and then the resulting crop is not nutritionally as great as something that's been rotated or, as a long-term crop. How does Moringa work if you're growing the same Moringa plants over time? Is the nutrition still as high a decade after you start growing it in the same piece of land?
That's an excellent question.
Yeah.
You're going to like what you're about to hear.
Absolutely. The way as Moringa is cultivated right now is still not in a way as we see industrial cultivation of crops. So it's more in a natural and ecological, sustainable way. That means that the plants are not planted very close to each other. The soil that we find is very rich in minerals, So we never saw a depletion up to now, and I don't expect it. It's grown organically in a natural way. What also means organic means that that the farmers would add organic material to the fields where the moringa is grown. So no, we didn't experience that. So it's very there was no damage done. No? No.
Can you speak about how the moringa plant inserts nitrogen into the soil? The nitrogen impact of moringa with the soil.
The nitrogen impact.
Yeah. I previously, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you said that when you plant the moringa tree, it actually increases the nitrogen levels of the soil.
I saw that on one farm where the farmer thought he should remove every like going with a broom through between the trees, and he realized that there was a lack of nitrogen. Yeah. And you could see that the leaves became yellow, but that was really an exception. And now he leaves just in an organic way. He leaves organic material in his fields, and we don't see that anymore. It's also the work that we do also has a capacity building character. No? Yeah. I think the time is over. And you are the next? Okay. So I would like to thank you very much for your interest, for your patience, and for the fantastic questions that I was allowed to answer. Thank you very much.